What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Z-Man, and I'm back. Sorry it took a little longer than expected. So yeah, I'm going to bring you guys another song. I figured I'd kick up the tempo and make things a little more upbeat with a song by the band Blue Suede. It's an oldie but a goodie. Some of you guys may have heard of it. Some of you younger folks have probably never even heard of it in your life and are cocking your head like a dog hearing a weird noise right now saying, who the hell is Blue Suede? Well, this song is known as Hooked on a Feeling, and it's one of my favorites, so give it a listen.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. All the good love when we're all alone. Keep it up, yeah, you turn me on. Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. I'm hooked on a feeling, and I'm high on believing you're in love with me. I said I'm hooked on a feeling, and I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. Hooked on a feeling.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I'm here with William Fawcett for part 2 of The World Turns as Ferguson Burns. And as we've covered, the world, or at least, America, seems to be descending into political chaos here. And, yeah, I mean, who the hell knows? The world's going to hell in a handbasket here, folks. So, I don't know, William, what the hell do you think about all this? I mean, why do you think they haven't declared martial law yet?
My honest opinion on that, and anybody can correct me on it, but I mean, it's an opinion. Like belly buttons, everybody's got one, so everybody's got an opinion. But I feel they have not implemented martial law yet because they are not 100% confident that it will work. The way our government works, and I only know this because I was in the military. The way our government works, it works off a strategy. Whether it's civilian life or it's military life, they work off a strategy. And if they're playing their chess game and they don't see them winning in the long haul, they'll put the game on pause until they know they have all their ducks in a row. They will wait until they know that this strategy is going to work and they're going to get what they want out of it. So the fact that they haven't actually implemented martial law, which they probably should have last night just for the sake of curfew, and a lot of these businesses wouldn't have lost as much money as they did last night. And my heart goes out to the the car dealerships and the other businesses in Ferguson that lost, so much money last night because of the fires and everything. It's a shame that it happened.
Absolutely. A lot of people think that
it happened. So.
Well, yeah, a lot of people think that small businesses are like corporations where they'll just bounce back, but in reality, these people are just normal people like you and I who invested and tied up a lot of money in these products, and I'm sure a lot of them have business insurance, but we both know that we've all been screwed by insurance companies here and there. They're going to try their hardest to not pay those people. So there's a lot of tragedy involved. I mean, it's not just the black community or the police community that's losing out here. It's just the community. I mean, people are taking out their anger on something or on people that had nothing to do with it. And I don't understand why people need to. I mean, a lot of these people, some people are trying to say that they're provocateurs and that they're hired by the government, which I highly doubt. I think it's just bad people taking advantage of a bad situation. As the saying goes, let no good crisis go unused. Or, I'm sure I just messed up that and butchered it completely, but you get my point. It comes down to really that this is I think they're pushing society this direction on purpose. I mean, look at the EBT riots that happened, last year, when the EBT system in a couple of states went down, and everybody was walking out of stores with food, stealing food. People were, fighting and fighting each other because they couldn't get the stuff they needed, and women were saying they couldn't feed their children. I mean, it was insanity for 24 hours. People, I think that was a measured out test that they wanted to see what they could push people into, and I think this was, kind of like the rehearsal for that. They're like, all right, the experiment worked. Now let's start putting our theory into practice.
Right. I feel it, and it's sad that it has happened, but I feel that it's a practice run for martial law. And they feel that the uprising that's going on right now is a little bit too hot to handle for them to even implement martial law. And as you saw, the National Guard was there on scene, but they weren't doing anything.
No, they were
giving orders to do anything.
The local police were really pinned down too. I mean, they were only the only thing they could do was try to keep chaos in a very small area near the Capitol buildings and near the courthouses and stuff where they released the statement. I mean, I knew that they were going to not indict him as soon as they were talking about the fact that they were closing school on Monday and Tuesday. I knew that, number one, I knew they were going to drop the decision on Monday because they were closing schools throughout the area on Monday and Tuesday, and that takes a lot of money and that takes a lot of time. So for them to go to that extent, they knew something was going to happen, number one. But number two was the fact that they were just they anticipated the whole thing. I mean, as soon as I could just tell by the demeanor of the investigator who released the statement on the news that they weren't gonna indict him, and I knew why, whether, like we talked about earlier, whether it was an African American officer or a Caucasian officer, I knew they weren't going to indict him simply because he was wearing a badge, and there's like I said, there's a broad spectrum of tragedy here because there's a police accountability tragedy, there's a fact that a family just lost a young son to violence. I mean, yes, I'm sure you have done it too. I've done it as a youngin'. I mean, I'm not exactly that old yet, but the whole point is I've done dumb stuff at the age of 18 years old, and I believe that's how old Michael Brown was when he was tragically killed. But you know what? We've all done dumb stuff as teenagers, and that doesn't mean we should have paid with our lives. But sadly, like for instance, that what pisses me off about all of this stuff when it comes to when it comes to the outrage over Michael Brown is the fact that he was a grown man. Meanwhile, a young man I can't remember where exactly, but a young man was shot by the police for playing with a realistic-looking BB gun because he didn't comply with the officer's demands. They had weapons trained on him, and he reached for his waistband, and they put two in his chest, and he's now dead. And he was a very young man. I believe he was only about 10 or 12 years old. And where's his riots? I mean, if anybody deserves to have an outrage to where people feel they have to destroy things to get their point across, would be a young man who was not even in the prime of his life yet. And they killed him over a BB gun. That could have easily been me, or that could easily be one of your children.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that people don't get. Michael Brown was a grown man, yes. And it doesn't make it any less tragic that the family lost him. But the simple fact is, is that he should not have been acting like an idiot. And that also trails back to what were Michael Brown's parents teaching him. I mean, everybody acts like he was so innocent, and yes, it doesn't mean that he deserved to get shot and killed, but he had previously robbed a store just before this altercation took place, which, according to the statement that was placed last night, Officer Wilson was well aware of the fact that he was well aware that there was a robbery, and he had the description of the perpetrator, which when he saw a young man dressed exactly as the description was, which was a young African American male, 6 foot tall, wearing white shirt, khaki pants, a red hat, red shoes, and yellow socks. That's pretty distinct as a description. So it's not like everybody's walking around with that exact color scheme. That's a bit of a strange, strange set of colors to be wearing in the first place. So it's not like he was profiling him. But as we talked about earlier, he should have escalated the force. He should have tased him. Now, I'm pretty sure that if he had less lethal methods of subduing him, I'm pretty sure that would have came into play with the investigation. Again, they could have omitted. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we should have called for backup.
Oh, absolutely. Well, now one of the testimonies they said, according to one of the people who allegedly witnessed the shooting, said that there was supposedly 5 different stories, which we all know that's always how it happens. But
Right.
Supposedly, their one story was that Officer Wilson pulled in front of them, which I guess the main consensus is that Officer Wilson cut them off and blocked off both lanes of traffic, and that's when the altercation took place. But other people say that before the shooting took place, there was 5 police cars on the scene. Some people say that there was 1 police officer with him. Some people say he had a partner with him. Now that's the whole thing here. There's just too much speculation, and all these people are going by what everybody else is saying on the news and going by hearsay, which we all know the game of telephone. I mean, we all played it as kids. You start off saying, "Hi, I'm a pretty girl," and then the final person on the end of the line is, "Hey, I'm a duck from Cleveland." So, when it comes down to it, eyewitness testimonies are not consistent, no matter who it is. It could be somebody with a photographic memory. Their story is still not going to match up with all the other people who saw it. So the only thing they could do was go by the consistencies in everybody's story and then piece it together from there. And that's what they did. So people can't really knock what the investigators are doing because they investigated to the best of their ability. And the sad thing is whether or not he was guilty, whether or not he had malice in his heart when he took the life of Michael Brown, he still is entitled to being innocent until proven guilty. And they could not prove that he was guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt, and they have to let him go. And sadly, there are plenty of people who fall through the cracks of that system. But if we do not adhere to that system, then we turn into jackbooted thugs and tree climbing crap flingers.
Yeah, you're correct. And people need to understand that the media portrayed Michael Brown as an angel. When this first all came about, I went online and I looked up his criminal record. And you can get people's criminal record just by typing in their name and where they're from. If you do enough research, you will actually pull up what is public viewable information.
Yep, they call it public domain.
A criminal record. Now, you can't get their stuff before they're 18. It did say that he had some altercations before he was 18. They weren't saying exactly what it was, because he was underage. He was a minor.
Yeah.
But he did have other things against him, such as like he beat people up or something like that. There's a few things he had done from the time when he just turned 18. I don't know how long he had actually been 18, but he had a small, and I use the word small because he wasn't 18 for that long. But he still had a rap sheet from the time he turned 18 when they could try him as an adult.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
he wasn't a complete angel.
Oh no.
And I'm not saying that he should have died. No, nobody should die. Nobody, even in war, nobody should die because taking another person's life, it stays with you forever. I don't care who you are. If you can live through killing somebody and feel good about it, and go on with your life and smile every single day through it all, and not have bad dreams about it, you're sick. You're sick in the head, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you get mad at me for saying it.
Absolutely. No, you know, anybody who does get mad, then they have no right to. Because, I mean, we discussed it earlier just before we went on the air live again, was that you have fired your firearm in combat, and you do know what it's like to have to use a firearm against another person. So from somebody who's actually been in that situation, you can speak from experience.
Right. And the fact that people are just, like you have said, going by what the media is portraying about Michael Brown or portraying about Officer Wilson. It's all portrayals. They're painting a pretty picture for the media to sell their product, to sell their news station, to get people watching them, to get views. It's all about money. This entire corporate United States is about money. How much money can I rake in? The more views I get, the more money I'm going to make. Yay, let's spin this story so I can get more views. The very first news story about this shooting wasn't even the truth. They came out saying that a young African American was just viciously murdered by a police officer. They had no other information other than he was killed by a police officer. And the first thing they said was that the 18-year-old was black and the cop was white. Bam. That right there started a race war from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely.
They pushed this as a race war from the very, very beginning to boost the viewers so they can make more money off of it. And it's been that way ever since. So they actually escalated these protests and everything. The more and more they talked about it, the more and more they pushed the race issue, the bigger the protests got. I mean, how long? What was the actual date of the shooting?
I believe it happened in August. I'm not exactly sure the date.
Okay, so you figure somewhere around August till now. It is almost December, and there is still protesting every single night. When this first happened and the protest started happening, I was watching it on live stream every night to see what would happen. And each night it progressed worse and worse and worse.
Oh, and it's just going to get worse and worse from here.
Yeah, I mean, I predict, and this is just my prediction, but I predict tonight is going to be worse than last night.
Most likely.
And that's sad because a lot of businesses lost a lot of their money, and this is the holiday season. So these business owners, even small businesses, little mom and pop shops like 7-Eleven and stuff like that, are out of money, are out of a business, are out of a job. And Thanksgiving is this Thursday. Christmas is just right around the corner.
See, I think
How are they going to pay to have Thanksgiving? How are they going to pay to have a happy, and a Merry Christmas? How are they going to do that? They can't because they lost their job now. They lost their business. So because of the media pushing this the way they did, all these people are out of jobs. All these people have no business anymore. And yeah, they have business insurance. But like you said off the air, who hasn't been screwed by an insurance company?
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, I hate the fact that this turned into a media frenzy.
Well,
where, who has the better coverage? Who's telling the better story? Who's getting the most listeners because of the story they're portraying? I mean, if you had one news group out there who actually told the truth, who always gave the people the information that was actually true, that that they were given, and they knew it was concrete, true proof of what had happened, I don't think that news station would ever be watched because it wasn't painting a pretty picture that everybody wanted to see. It wasn't painting the picture that would rise the anger of people to cause mass chaos to get more viewers.
Well, that's basically what it is.
So
And well, what annoys the crap out of me, I noticed, like I've been noticing it for the past few months now, is everything, no matter how old the news is, everything's breaking news. It's breaking news. Oh my God, it's breaking news. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then they overblow it to the point where they want to keep everybody glued to the televisions, no matter what it is. And you know, for instance, like now they're doing it with the weather, with the Arctic vortex, quote unquote. They need to make everything into a crisis so that everybody stays like pinned to the TV, because they know that TV, at least regularly scheduled programming, is becoming an outdated thing because everybody can just get the news from their tablets. So to keep people involved and to keep people with their eyes glued to the television, they need to have things that only the TV's doing, and only they're able to put out live, and so on and so forth. And that's really what it comes down to, is they want to make everything a crisis so that we're all glued to the TV at any moment, because the more ratings they get, the better they look, and they get to keep their job. And I mean, yeah, they got to put bread on the table, but you know what? Our society's got to stop using what a lot of people have coined the term fear porn, and just accept it and move on, and understand that the lamestream media is not your friend, and they're not there to tell you things because it's the right thing, or because they want you to know. They have these freaking they have to get approval from the government to say anything. And I mean, last I checked, that was North Korea crap.
Exactly. And this is a little bit off topic, but not really. The way our government works is look at my right hand while my left hand is doing this.
Oh, yes, you got it down pat. I was going to say, you've got it 100%. I actually say that a lot. It's there was a movie called Now You See Me, and the guy was talking about magicians, and he said, when a magician tells you to watch his right hand, the magic is happening in the left.
Exactly. So that is what I feel Ferguson is. Ferguson is the right hand, while our government is spinning something out of control in the left hand. We don't know what it is. It could be the Ebola thing. It could be ISIS. It could be national-wide martial law. But there is something spinning off in the left hand. It could be a off-the-wall executive order that President Obama is going to magically, create with his pen, that is going to abolish parts of the Constitution. We don't know. But something is happening in the left hand, while Ferguson is going on right now in the right hand. Because everybody's eye, I don't care who you are in America, you are talking, thinking, or watching what is going on in Ferguson right now.
Yep.
So they know that. They know how to play the American people. And that is so sad. There's 310 million plus people living here in America. There are a little bit under 500 government officials. 500. Those 500 people can play the American public like a fiddle.
Oh, absolutely.
That's sad. That is sad.
And you know what? And people don't realize that most of what we're seeing on the television, they don't realize that it's not like it used to be back in the day, where they could just blatantly state their political values on the television, or blatantly state what they want you to do. Now they have to use propaganda. They have to slowly, and you have to use what they call, I'm sure you're aware of it, predictive programming. They have to, for instance, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, predictive programming is when basically, for instance, the presumption that the AK-47 is an evil rifle versus the AR-15. Why? Because it's portrayed in Hollywood as the terrorist carries the AK-47, and here comes the big bad Marine with the AR-15 wiping out all the bad guys, and it just subconsciously you equate AR-15 with good, and you equate the AK-47 with bad, just because of the simple fact that people are doing bad things with it. Firearms are a tool. Just like a hammer, just like a knife, just like a saw, I could kill you just as easily with a saw or a hammer or a screwdriver as I could with a firearm. Maybe not quite as easily, and maybe not from such a long distance, but I'll tell you now, anything can be a weapon. Any tool can be used for the wrong purposes. It's the wielder of the tool, not the...
Exactly. at ISIS right now. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people with knives.
Absolutely. That's the thing people don't get here. And the line, I believe it was FDR who said it, or folks, don't fact check me on this one. I could be completely wrong on who said it, but one of our presidents and one of the greatest leaders of the past said, I believe it was in reference to the Vietnam War before we got involved, is why are we going to send American boys to do a job that Asian boys should be doing for themselves? Why are we doing jobs that the jobs that the Arabs should be doing for themselves? These people are for instance, when ISIS was moving into Iraq, Iraqi police officers were stripping off their badges and their clothes and leaving their weapons behind and running away like cowards. Are you kidding me? Why are we fighting your war?
Exactly.
You know, I get so frustrated when it comes to that kind of stuff. Why are we fighting somebody else's war? I understand, yes, I support our troops. I don't support the war. And that's the whole thing, is that, yes, our troops are making valiant sacrifices and fighting overseas and going and making sacrifices so that we can all sleep safe and soundly in our beds. But when it comes down to it, why are we there? Simply follow the money. Follow the money.
Well,
And
a lot of the wars we have fought have been over taking someone else's oil profits.
Absolutely.
And people can sit there and tell me I'm wrong until they're blue in the face. But I'm going to tell you right now that a lot of the times when we go to war with somebody, it's because they have something that we want.
Yep, every time.
And if we feel that we can take it from them and make it our own, we're going to do it. And we're going to make up a story as to why we're going to war with you, and we're going to make the American public believe that story, so the American public is behind us 110% when we go in there and steal everything that they own.
Absolutely. And I try to explain to people, I'm like, you know what? Our government does not have our best interests at heart. It has its best interest at heart, because the government's sole purpose is to remain running and remain a valid superpower. It's not here to make everybody's lives easier. It's here to make sure things stay running. And it's a sad fact that we have to, we have to do what we got to do. But the whole point is that all the resources on this planet are finite, and we're all fighting over these resources that we decided to pump crude oil out of the ground, and now, it's just the weirdest thing. I don't understand why the hell, well, I do understand why we don't have other fuel-efficient technologies. It's simple enough. It's being suppressed by the oil companies. I mean, they've been talking about the electric car since the 60s, since before I even existed, and now suddenly all of a sudden they're able to produce it. Bullcrap. The electric car has been around for a long time, and they've been suppressing the technology. I briefly spoke about it on a previous show. I have a friend who is stationed on a nuclear submarine, and he was telling me about how the submarine was built back in the 50s. It was a nuclear sub, and he ended up actually getting cancer from being on the sub. He had a mass in his stomach the size of a football, and he went into remission after they removed it. He's a very lucky guy. But what he told me was that they had these, and I could be wrong on the exact size, but they had these two hard drives on either side of the bow of the ship, which is the front of the ship, and he said that they were like over 1,000 terabytes. I mean, they may be way more, but I'm just going to underestimate here. They were over 1,000 terabytes a piece. Now, that was back in the 50s, and he tells me all the time about how military technology is at least 60 to 70 years ahead of the general population. So I said this previously. What do you think that they have behind closed doors that we don't know about nowadays?
Exactly.
And it's getting a little off subject, but my point is that our government is not always forthcoming with us. I mean, they denied the existence of the stealth bomber until people were starting to show pictures of it, until they had absolutely no choice but to admit that it existed, because there was all these people saying that they saw flying wing UFOs that were black and triangular shaped, and then it turns out that we had come out with the stealth, or we were just developing the stealth bomber. So the point is that our government will not and absolutely won't admit their faults until they are caught red-handed. And even then, a lot of times, they'll still deny it.
Oh, just like, why is the name escaping me right now? The bombing in overseas. Oh, God, come on.
Talking about Benghazi?
Yes, thank you. My gosh, right? They covered that up.
Yep.
I mean, for so long. They covered it up and covered it up, and then Hillary Clinton was like, why does it matter? You're dead now.
It matters.
Really? Why does it matter?
Well, of course, it doesn't matter to them because these rich politicians. And I said a couple shows ago, how the hell did it become that we have rich, mostly white people running our country when they don't even understand what kind of freaking what's it called? They don't even understand what kind of what kind of things I was trying to think of the word blue collar. What kind of things the blue collar worker goes through on a daily basis. These people don't even know how to fathom the fact that they don't have enough, I can't even think of it because I don't make that much money. But you know what? The point is these people couldn't even fathom the fact that they're going to have to worry about their next meal coming to them, let alone being broke. These people. I don't understand how these people are supposed to be our representatives, and yet they make more money than any of us do. You know, that's the main problem is that these people are off their rockers and they're not in touch with the real world or the working man, and they just think they do, and they're just good talkers. They're actors.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, they make too much money. That's the problem is there's too much money for congressmen to be in nowadays. I mean, even there used to be limits on a senator's term. I think you used to only be allowed to be a senator for like 4 years, and you had to do it for free. And now you make thousands, millions of dollars a year, and we all know. I wonder where all that money's coming from. But that's the whole thing is these politicians are getting kickbacks from these large corporate entities that don't seem to get the fact that. The corporate entities get it. People don't seem to get the fact that these corporate entities are paying the senators money to say, hey, make this illegal, lobby for this to be illegal, and we'll give you a couple of grand because this being illegal furthers our agenda or allows our product to stay at a high price range so that we can make as much profit as possible, and you'll be able to get a slice of the pie. Meanwhile, us American people are taking the brunt of all these tax increases and everything else to line their pockets. And they don't want people to know about that.
That is correct. That is correct. They feel that if the longer they keep the American people in the dark, the better. That's where that whole flicker rate comes in. That's totally a different story. But it's all about controlling the masses.
Yep.
And if they can control your mind to think a certain way, then no matter what they do, you're going to agree with it. And that's what it's come to. It's come to the point where they have so much control over the American people's minds that no matter what the government says, it's golden. I mean, thank God that the Republicans took over the House and they took over the Senate, and hopefully we can get the ball rolling on the Republican side. But the way I look at it is a politician is a politician. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a liberal, a Republican, left-winger, right-winger. I don't care what you are. You're a politician.
Yep.
So you are trained to lie.
Yep.
And, I mean, people are going to look down on that and be like, well, no, Republicans are good. I'm a Republican, okay? So I can sit here and say that most of your Republican politicians, once they get into office, they get shown a certain amount they're going to get paid for following a agenda. They're going to do whatever it takes to make that paycheck.
Absolutely.
Which is lie to the American people. To take, the things they said when they were running for office. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to, hold true to the Second Amendment. Then they get into office, and it's a whole different ballgame. Why? Because of money. Because of a paycheck. They were offered a certain amount of money if they were to push this story.
Pretty much.
As long as they keep true to it and push that story, they're fine. Look at Kennedy. Kennedy wanted to open his mouth and be honest with the American people. What happened to him? He got killed.
Yeah, see, now a lot of people, when I was younger, I didn't understand why. I used to ask people, well, why was Kennedy shot? And I would get all these different reasons. And basically, what happened with the Kennedy assassination is that Kennedy wanted to pull all of our troops out of Vietnam before something happened, because he saw North Korea and South Korea, positioning themselves to get ready for a knockdown, drag out brawl. So what was our government doing? They were trying to capitalize by using our military in there to feed the military-industrial complex. What's the military-industrial complex? Things like Blackwater, companies that make guns, armored vehicles, Humvees, bullets, rifles. And the thing is that war, it allows them to profit off of that. So when Kennedy wanted to pull out, when Kennedy wanted to pull out all the troops, simply enough, the military-industrial complex and all these corporations did not like that, so they took him out, and then they pinned it on Lee Harvey Oswald. And whether you want to agree with the official story or not, a majority of Americans do not believe the official story that was put out by the Warren Commission. Simply to state the fact is he was assassinated, and we may never know who, or we may very well find out 10, 20 years from now. But the point is that usually the truth comes out. I may be an old man by the time we find out what happened to Kennedy, and it won't be relevant anymore. But eventually the American people are going to be brought to light on that situation. And the whole thing is that more and more people are becoming disillusioned with the whole original story that was put out. I mean, I just read a thing the other day that said that the coroners did not want to release Kennedy's body, so the Secret Service detail actually put them against the wall at gunpoint and took his body by force. So that shows you right there that they were trying to keep things secret. They didn't want a public record of his autopsy being put out until they could put their own spin on it, so that they could say, well, it was Lee Harvey Oswald and blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can cite all these different people who have tried to make the shot at that distance, at that speed, and da-da-da-da-da, but in reality, we'll never know. We'll never know whether or not there was a magic bullet or a second shooter or so on and so forth. I mean, everybody can speculate the fact that the Secret Service pulled off before, they were told to back off just before the shots rang out. But even so, I speculate the fact that it wouldn't matter whether or not the Secret Service was standing at each corner of the car. If the guy was going to shoot him in the head, the guy was going to shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
So people try to use all these little minute details as their evidence, when in reality it's just subterfuge. It's just it's just all this stuff being made up and thrown at you in a scattergun effect, and there's just too much information to take in. And most people aren't mentally, or a little too mentally lazy to do the research themselves. No offense to anybody, but if you don't know what happened with the Kennedy assassination, I'm 26 years old. If you're older than me and you don't know what happened with Kennedy, then it's shame on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, because the information is out there for you to look up yourself. I mean, Google is very easy to use. I use it all the time whenever I make my videos. I try to do as much research as I can before I actually push video, because I don't want to give false information. And there's a lot of channels out there that do that. They will just put any story out there without actually doing the proper investigation on it, and end up with a he said, she said video, and then come to find out a few days later, well, that's not what actually happened. I mean, it's easy enough to get the information. People just need to get out there and use it.
Pretty much, and that's the whole thing. Is like I have people, like I said, I have a fairly high IQ. I don't know it right offhand at the moment, but my point is that I have people calling me and texting me, asking me questions about this, asking me questions about that. And I'm like, you have a phone in your pocket that has the entirety of human knowledge at your fingertips. Use it. Stop talking to me and asking me. Stop arguing with people saying, well, no, I think it's this. No, I think it's this. There's a little thing called Google. And it was, it's been around for quite some time now, folks. All you got to do is type it in, and you can most of the time find the information you're looking for. So it befuddles me when people are talking to you and they're like, oh, well, I think it's this. Well, you have a smartphone in your hand. You have I would love to explain to somebody, imagine going back in time and trying to explain to people from the 50s what an iPhone or a tablet is for. It's like, well, I have the entirety of human knowledge at my fingertips, but I use it to look at cat pictures and argue with perfect strangers.
That's so true.
I mean, that's the whole thing about it, is people want to be entertained, and I understand that. I mean, that's partially what my YouTube channel is about. Is I've talked about it before. I preach the whole zombie apocalypse survival thing, and like I told you, I'm obsessed with The Walking Dead. Well, I'm obsessed with zombie culture in general. I've loved zombie movies since I was a kid, from the George A. Romero Night of the Living Dead to the modern Dawn of the Dead. I want to be a filmmaker in general, so I love movies, and I love zombie movies especially. So I figured, hey, you know what? I could probably educate people and entertain them at the same time by making it a little more fun, not just talking about government takeovers or martial law, but saying, hey, zombies are going to get us. But in reality, zombies represent the hungry people that are going to come and take your stuff and kill your family when the shit has hit the fan. And that's basically what I'm here for, is to try to explain it and try to teach everybody, we got to get prepared now, because if you don't, there's nobody there that's going to help you when the shit hits the fan, because everybody's going to be worried about themselves.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of my channel is based upon, is survival of the fittest. And the way I believe is everybody is born with knowledge in themselves about survival. And you just got to bring it out of yourself, because everybody, it's an instinct. Survival is an instinct.
Absolutely.
And you just got to find it within yourself. If you put down your smartphone for a second, you put down your laptop, you put down your iPad or your ebook, put that down just for a minute, and try to live without electricity, water, and food for just a couple hours. And you'll be amazed what you'll come up with to try to build a fire, to get water, to get food. Your body and not your body, but your mind knows how to do this already. Whether you think you can or not, your mind already knows how to do it.
Absolutely.
Dig deep down inside and find it.
Absolutely.
It's all inside of us all. We're all born with it. It's in our genes.
Yep.
You just got to find it.
See, when we're getting down to the last 3 minutes of the show, are you willing to come back for a part 3? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who are listening in who are, still want to hear what we've got to say. So I figured I'd close out with
part 3 tonight or part 3 tomorrow.
Tonight, if you have the time tonight. If not, we can just call it quits here, and then we can just come back together another time.
Well, the wife will be home soon for dinner, so I'll have to be getting ready for that. But I would definitely love to come back on the show and talk with you more, either about the same subject or different subjects. I had a great time. I'd love to come back and talk with everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I loved having you on, brother. All right, so I guess we're going to close it out here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Z-Man. If you want to check out any of my pages, I have ZNN, Zombie News Networks. Basically, Zombie News is spelled with a Z instead of an S, but you can check me out on Zombie News Network on Facebook, or you can check me out at youtube.com/SteelyBags TV. That's SteelyBags TV. And you can also check out William Fawcett or General Fawcett on YouTube as well. So yeah, I would definitely love to have you back on at any time, brother. So I'll let you go so you can get back to your family. I don't want to take up too much of your time. And that's really about it, folks. So you got anything to say before we cut out?
I just want to say, as always, everybody, stay safe, be safe, man. Got your shit.
And as I've always asked, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready?
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright.
Alright, folks, this is Z-Man again. I'm coming back for a part 3, and in this it's just going to be me this time. But what we're going to do is I have some information here that would be pertinent to the subject at hand. How to prevail in a riot. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay on the air, but I am coming back for a part 3 in a couple minutes.